What is the biggest thing that still has not gone back to normal even after the pandemic? Story 1. 24-hour businesses used to include a bunch of fast food places and even supermarkets near me that were open 24 hours. After COVID, all of them started closing earlier, no later than 11 p.m. near me. Story 2. The quality of everything is down and people want more for it. I recently completed a remodel due to house damage, and from the insurance agency to the remediation company to the contractor and their subcontractors, it felt like everyone was doing about 70% work, wanted 120% pay, and just didn't care. Story 3. Quality of everything. Smaller food portions. Missing items, downsized packages. Even the sriracha guy got greedy and tried to pull something on his suppliers and ended up putting his foot in his mouth when his chili supplier said, "Screw you, I'll make my own damn sauce." Story 4. Tipping options are a 20% minimum and often 22 to 30%. The 20% minimum was supposed to be because of the pandemic. Now a 25% tip is apparently average in a lot of places. Story 5. Getting into a primary or specialty healthcare facility in a reasonable time is difficult. I've still yet to establish a primary physician because they transfer to other hospitals, and the lead time is 4 to 6 months to see a dermatologist. Story 6. Cost of living and prices of products. Many companies pretending there is still a shortage of supplies as an excuse for raising prices. It has been artificial inflation. Story 7. Physical and mental illness, it's off the charts. Traffic is still not nearly as heavy during rush hour or peak times as it used to be, which is fine with me. It seems more people are working remotely, and quite a few people never went back to work full-time, if at all. Hardly anything that used to be open 24/7 has reverted back to it since the pandemic. Harris Teeter, a very nice grocery store, used to be open 24 hours. However, that stopped at the start of the pandemic for multiple reasons. Most Lifetime Fitness health clubs were open 24/7, but not anymore. Now, it's 4 a.m. to 12 o'clock midnight or 5 a.m. to 11 p.m. There used to be 24-hour drugstores or pharmacies such as CVS, but not anymore. I have yet to encounter a 24-hour Walmart in my area since March or April 2020. Story 8. The job market. While we may not be in a recession, ongoing hiring freezes since 2023 and massive layoffs have left more people out of work than there are available jobs. Story 9. Prices of everything, food, daily living essentials, and so on. People, as the top comment said, seem ruder nowadays, very negative, pessimistic, and not caring about anyone else at all. Life in general seems different. I do not know how to even put it. Things just seem off to me. Story 10. Tipping culture got out of hand during COVID-19, but you felt like you were helping struggling people, so it was okay. Now you're expected to tip everywhere. Like, why would I tip at Jamba Juice? And these service fees that have appeared at basically every restaurant. It's just a way for the customer to pay the wages for the owner. Weird stuff, man. Story 11. Buffet restaurants are mostly extinct, but we are more aware of other people's poor hygiene and failure to wash hands. Yes, some women are disgusting about that too. Story 12. Had a colleague finally come in the other day. They aged so much in a short period of time. It's like they went straight from young adult to pensioner in less than a year. I would say many people have aged dramatically the last few years. Everyone is so average now, if this makes sense. Story 13. Communication among people has decreased. People used to have dinner together and engage in conversation, but nowadays it seems like when people have gatherings or dinners, half the time they just sit there on their phones without really interacting with each other. Story 14. Don't you think we're just forcing an old normal onto each other to keep familiar systems from collapsing? The rush to return to the meaningless, unintentional busy lives we had before could not be more aggressive these days. This entire thread is all about stuff and people. It's always been get back to all of your meaningless social interactions because while they were completely dysfunctional and harmful to you before, at least they felt familiar and comfortable. And when you're comfortable, you participate and comply. Oh, and now that you're participating and complying, make sure you go out with all those people and spend money together and then make sure you deprioritize your personal life and wellness enough to perform largely redundant tasks in an office that forces even more meaningless social interactions so your boss can justify his lack of skill and overpriced lease. In your downtime, don't forget to treat yourself and celebrate holidays big and travel as much as you can to escape the feeling of your unfulfilled life. What do you think that does to our humanity after collectively going through extreme trauma like the pandemic? When our very survival depended on the quality, not the quantity, of our social interactions and the systems around us. Look at us now, shaming each other for not being normal anymore and complaining that we can't afford to buy more stuff so we can socialize and buy more stuff. That's all we can come up with for what's not normal since the pandemic? That stores are not open long enough in a day for us to buy more stuff while in the company of people we actually just deeply resent. Honestly, forget normal, we're completely lost. Story 15. Staffing levels at places like pharmacies. Everything that used to be simple and fast now seems slow and difficult. Also, half the information they give you cannot be relied upon. Story 16. Most companies found an opportunity to massively inflate the prices of goods during the pandemic because of rampant mercantilism, and then that went away, but the prices have not come down. It's actually a serious economic concern that nobody will do anything about. Story 17. Students, nobody takes notes. Everyone wants a video recorded so they can watch it instead of asking questions. Everyone stays in their dorm rooms instead of showing up for labs. Story 18. Stores being open all night. I loved doing my grocery shopping at 1 a.m. All the screaming toddlers tucked in bed, their moms happily scrolling and ignoring them from the couch. Karens are all at home, dreaming up more ways to make cashiers cry. Aisle blockers all parked in there, and partially in their neighbor's parking spot. Freshly stocked aisles that are as peaceful as an eagle's song. Employees might be tired but have lost that "don't bother killing me. I'm already dead inside" emptiness that is usually in their eyes. If I wanted to get in and out, I could do it in less than 15 minutes. If I wanted to take my time and browse, no problem. I could wander every aisle without dodging running children. I could check out the clearance stuff without someone breathing down my neck to get out of the way. Those were the good old days. Story 19. How people are disgusted and start moving away if you cough a little in a public place. Sometimes people cough to clear their throat without having an infection, but I am mindful of it in public places post-pandemic. Story 20. The price of everything. Why does basic food cost so much more? Fast food, which I try to avoid anyway, costs more than sit-down spots around me. That's insane. Story 21. People flock to the open, no vaccine-required countries for their vacation or to avoid lockdowns. It feels like the whole year it's been low season, but in actuality, there's been a 100 to 300% increase in small business investors who expected the same levels of tourism indefinitely. Story 22. Weird, no-education conspiracy anti-intellectual types going back to being isolated weirdos instead of a networked community protesting civility and doing their own research. Story 23. People, prices for everything, life, it just feels like the fabric of reality is trying to correct itself. But there is something preventing it from being correct. Story 24. The scarcity mentality seems to still be in effect. I noticed a lot of the cheaper food stores. If you don't go the day they restock, then the shelves get cleared out pretty quickly. But there are also a lot of people in town who have no money with many children, so that is probably a contributing factor as well. They are hoarding all the resources. Story 25. Companies delivering large furniture and appliances. My mother, who is 65 years old, needed a new fridge. The company delivering it refused to bring it into the home and demanded she move the old fridge to the garage for them to dispose of it. She is renovating her home and had a few sinks delivered for the upstairs washrooms. And again, the delivery drivers refused to bring them into the home. Even though she pays the full delivery cost, I've heard her speak with the sales representatives in these stores. They assure her they will deliver according to her needs and bring items into the home, only for the driver to say, "Our policy doesn't allow us to step foot in a home, so we stopped paying for delivery, and I'll end up driving 40 minutes to pick up what she needs and another 15 minutes to drop it off." Story 26. Liquor stores are opening at 7 a.m. now because they wanted to provide senior citizens with safe shopping times. I'm not kidding. They were just grasping at straws for reasons to be ridiculous. Story 27. How normalized conspiracy theories have become. People who were not interested in politics are now sharing memes about the World Economic Forum and eating bugs. Story 28. Driving. The level of aggression and speeding skyrocketed during the pandemic when the roads were less congested. Once the traffic picked up, so did the frequency of aggressive drivers. What used to be a small, isolated group of predictably aggressive drivers has grown noticeably in proportion. Story 29. Magic. The Gathering. Before the coronavirus pandemic, you had a good number of players at weekly tournaments playing Standard, Modern, or Draft, but the scene barely recovered after the pandemic. Sure, Draft returned to a somewhat normal state relatively fast since it's the lowest commitment format, but many people shied away from buying a deck. Many stores tried to create or use the momentum of official events, but many stores are still struggling. It's not just the pandemic. Many factors are involved. Official events were not happening, but unofficially, people continued playing. For casual players, nothing changed at all. Wizards of the Coast targeted and honestly milked them with products, lots of products, and people bought them for some reason. People who would barely go to stores and play there. They wouldn't design and produce products that are selling poorly. Just before the pandemic, they tried to implement Pioneer as a step between Standard and Modern, further dividing the player base. Many people are also not happy with the newer design of cards and refuse to play them in pre-formats like pre-modern, dividing the player base further. The next thing is Magic Arena thrives. People play digitally nowadays. So instead of two major formats and smaller ones, you have several, with the smaller ones gaining more popularity too. You have a ton of people who just play in their group and have never even heard of cool events like store championships. Lots of Magic players are also fed up with the flood of products. Before the pandemic, you had 4 sets and challenger decks, 5 products to look out for each year with some side products covering specific niches. In addition to product overload, you also get power creep, complexity creep, and wording creep. Feels more and more like Yu-Gi-Oh! With mana. Then, a lot of post-pandemic trading card games appeared all of a sudden. It's not just Yu-Gi-Oh!, Magic, The Gathering, and Pokemon anymore with some Weiss Schwartz or Final Fantasy players. There is Flesh and Blood, Star Wars United, Shadowverse Evolve, Altered, Mindbug, Grand Archive, One Piece, Lorcana, and they feel a lot more fleshed out than Magic, which just lives with its lands/spells weakness. Gaming as a whole is changing more and more, with influencer-driven modern high-value aesthetics moving away from the nerdy vibe. Lots of stores are trying to become the high-value place to play your hobby. Magic players don't like being charged twice as much just because the place is clean and spacious. They also dislike committing to events days ahead of time. New trading card game players are fine with registering and paying twice as much just to have a place to connect with others who enjoy the games. This results in many places focusing on minor trading card games, even if it's just 2 to 5 games, because they can plan ahead with them and don't get criticized by the pricing policy for Magic players. It's like 2 different groups with different expectations, and newer stores dislike the Magic way and make a profit from other games. Magic. The Gathering can relax and milk players since it is probably too big to fail right now. They even made more during the pandemic due to Magic Arena, but it is suffering. People notice the greed, the lack of focus on having a healthy game with a healthy scene. Wizards of the Coast tries to intervene with good rewards for local game stores. So they become crowded again, but issues like missing challenger decks and power/word/complexity creep are giving Magic a hard time and need to be addressed outside of event promos. Story 30. It is normal for people to go into the office 5 days a week. Our government recently mandated all workers back to the office 3 days a week, and there were massive protests. Story 31. Stupidity is more prevalent. Either COVID-19 has knocked a bunch of IQ points off nearly everyone, or the internet is making stupidity more visible. And I agree that all of the technology assistance like artificial intelligence and large language models is accelerating the trend. Story 32. Time. Without thinking about it, say out loud, right now, what year is it? What year was it 2 years ago? Now think, what year is it really? Also, the final nail on the third space. Also safety, also mental health and happiness. Also, common sense went from something rare to something extinct. Story 33. It seems like just about everything, honestly. At this point, I'm growing to accept that life was one thing before the pandemic and another thing after it. Story 34. Babies born during the lockdown have a different mix of gut bacteria, which is going to affect the rest of their lives. We are social animals, and our immune system needs contact with dirt, people, and animals. Story 35. Prices. Businesses realized they could increase prices during the pandemic and just leave them there even after the supply chain issues that caused the price increases in the first place have been alleviated. Story 36. The central bank's balance sheet and the tax burden are coming. The real economy, some would say, has been artificial since 2008. I think the biggest thing of all is the United States world reserve currency status, which is now a privilege we cannot afford any longer. The new world order is coming. They just need to move a couple more pieces on the board. Good luck, everyone.